All right, we are live. Hey, listener. It's Steve Maxted here with a podcast, and today our guest is Brown Eagle. He is the CEO at Decolonized Capital. He will do it much more justice to me than describing what he does, but basically, like a decentralized financial institution with some other arms or branches to it is the best intro that I think I have written down here that I could comprehend from the other words that we were talking about before. Is that okay? Did that sound all
Yeah,
right?
absolutely. That's great.
Okay.
That's great. I fill a lot of buckets, so definitely
Yes.
all the buzzwords. Yes, thanks for having me, man. I really appreciate that, and this is awesome. We've always spoke about doing a podcast, and at least one of us is doing it, right? So that's good. That's good.
Yeah, you got to start somewhere. Let's just chat on the background here. Like the idea of the podcast is to chat about life and business, and I think they're one and the same, especially when you are in the startup phase or early on in either taking over a business or running your own. And we first met at kind of like a business a networking event thing that was in Winnipeg. I think if I remember that correctly, at
Yeah,
the King's Head, the good old King's Head. And yeah, we got chatting there and just kind of hit it off. And now here we are. I guess that's a shameless recommendation to go to networking events for other folks out there. Like, go check them out. So yeah,
absolutely,
whether
absolutely. That was definitely the beginning of our bromance, our friendship. And yeah, man, it was nothing but good advice, good guidance from there, right? Like that was the beginning of me getting into blockchain just on my own, right? And it was definitely an intimidating experience, getting into the corporate world, getting into the business world, but something I wasn't really familiar. But prior to that, though, a little bit of background with me. So my name is Brown Eagle, the CEO of Decolonized Capital, and we are a blockchain company that utilizes technology to create solutions for Indigenous social issues. So with me, I come from a lot of life experiences, um, meaning like I was born into the foster care system, child family services, and ended up going into the justice system for quite a while, and then just getting out and just trying to really figure out who I was, just spiritually, and trying to figure out, what do I need to do with myself, and how do I establish myself in society. It was very hard. It was very hard, very difficult to kind of rebuild, right? But um, with technology and blockchain, like it really helped me to navigate and to be able to understand complexities, to help social issues. Like with Indigenous people, we go through a lot on a daily basis. Through just not be able to get an ID, not to be able to get a bank account.
hold on, question there, because I know this is a good topic, and you're gonna just come over and start to interrupt. But like, so I mean, we've talked about this, Jimmy, off screen a fair bit. But like you have had a very different life experience than I have. But when in each of those like circumstances and what things you've done, the odds of you kind of we'll call it like turning things around is pretty rare and uncommon. Not to knock
Very
anyone that's in that situation. It's just, but kind of part of the reason you're doing what you're doing is to make that more of a common stat because of
absolutely.
IDs and things like that. And I think for maybe listener hearing this right now, why don't you chat about the ID thing a little bit? Because I didn't understand it until you talked about it with me, and that's my ignorance of not
Absolutely.
having those same experiences. But walk through that real quick and then go back to where you were.
Absolutely. So it's required. It's required to get two supporting documents to get a photo ID, and those documents need a proof of address and to identify who you are. And when you get that photo ID, that helps you get into the Canadian banking system or any other established Canadian establishments in Canada here. And predominantly First Nations, Indigenous people kind of lack the tools and resources to be able to get those two photo IDs, right? So that prevents them from getting into the banking system. But not just that, there's that broken trust, right? But a lot of these First Nations kind of are obligated to go to these money marts, and these money marts hold their value against them to receive that value. So that's pretty predatory, and it's kind of it's robbery in my perspective, and to be able to utilize those systems. But I found out with blockchain the characteristics that it holds, with validation, transactions, a trusted node, and to be able to have a digital wallet and be able to have a digital ID through that. With this new digital frontier that's coming, globally, it's definitely a healthy leap forward to be able to utilize this technology for a community that's predominantly held back just because they don't have those credentials to get that photo ID.
And so what you're saying here, what you're suggesting is basically like with your technology, you would, I'm going to come back to the ID thing too, just to make sure we like really get down to like the basics here for some other folks listening. Was this is going to now you won't need two pieces as you formerly would have. You'll have a digital ID and a digital wallet on your platform for folks in that space, so they're not stuck trying to. And so why isn't there like kind of easy to access two pieces of ID in that way?
Good question. Good question. So like in the in our world, in the Indigenous communities, you know, there's a lot of there's a system that's put in place, and it's like apparently like a resource system. Like I think it's a very bad ecosystem. Like it's like the welfare, you know, it's affordable housing, you know, it's the foster care system, it's these money marts. It's just the ecosystem that doesn't have the same requirements as other as the rest of society, right? And it kind of keeps us really dummied down. It really keeps us broke and generational poverty, right? With the systems that I put together and created through technology, through AI, through blockchain, peer-to-peer network systems, we can create a system that kind of removes ourselves from that ecosystem, and it can be able to have our own infrastructure, our own ecosystem to be able to monetize off our own data, even to keep our own data sovereignty, right? Those are trusted nodes that are able to understand, not just understand, but to be able to verify in an instant second of who you are, no matter what. Instead of going time consuming to get, you know, your birth certificate, you got to wait on that. And then you got to go get your health card or whatever other credentials you need to get that photo ID. And then you kind of have to repeat that process if you lose your health card. A lot of First Nations don't have a proof of address. You know, a lot of First Nations don't have the right, I guess, lifestyle to be able to fit those requirements. So we definitely are always challenged on those things.
You know, something that to come. I mean, we have probably more in depth, chats a little bit behind this, but when we think about that for a second, it's more like in some cases less likely to have a fixed address. So then you're getting stuff mailed to somewhere, and then if you are, you know, moving around for whatever reason that is, as we've kind of lately discussed and coming out of different parts of the system, then it causes just a major headache. And then you're not able to get your ID, which won't allow you to go make the bank account, do all this other stuff. So it's just like a dragged along process the whole way through. And in this case, you would streamline that whole thing. Once you have your digital ID, then that's your proof. You're right there. So Absolutely. Then you're not stuck within the system of getting stuff like delayed. Like we're all familiar with in the last couple of years, like things being delayed for shipping. This is kind of a thing that's existed for a long time within the system from what your perspective and experiences, which has affected people to get out of that. Huh.
Yep, absolutely, definitely. And it's definitely a huge convenience, and it's already coming here, like with the government rolling out digital IDs. Air Canada is already coming out with digital IDs. It's all coming on a global scale with adoption, and Indigenous people are so accustomed to be adapted to the Canadian systems and to their adoptions, and it's like, why it doesn't have to be like that no more, especially with the tools and instruments that I'm able to create, and to be able to move forward without their ways. We can actually have be responsible and hold ourselves accountable through the technology that we have.
Very cool.
Yeah.
And so so you get started on this journey, and I think we kind of like lately touched on that. If there's more that you want to go through there, but if we were to fast forward and you choose where you want to like jump on this, but where are things at today, and where did that kind of come from? If you want to touch on that.
Absolutely. So yeah, I was working in social services for a few years after my release. I connected with a couple of nonprofit organizations, and start working with a lot of men that were recently incarcerated, and trying to be that resource for them. There's a ton of resources for women, which is beautiful, just not enough for men, and I was just trying to be that bridge and be able to be that support system for them. And so that ended up getting a lot of opportunities, got a lot of good exposure, healthy exposure in Winnipeg. And one thing led to another, getting jobs, working for the government, working for the hospital, absolutely enjoyed it. And COVID hit, and I was let go of all my my volunteer positions, and not be able to see the youth, and not be able to continue on with that healthy path I was on. And the lockdowns happened, and I was I fell across cryptocurrency, and I was like, damn, like this is really cool stuff. I really understood it, right? So I'm all self-taught, just kind of locked myself in a basement type of thing, and just studied, watched video after video, read a ton of books, and got my hands in the dirt, and just started to learn how to like kind of code, but like smart contracts. I know it's really complicated stuff, but started really getting into the systems of how blockchain really works. And a lot of trial and error, obviously, but with the knowledge that I collected, I was able to get a position with another previous company I was with in Winnipeg, and became director of special projects. And I was there for about a year. Ton of knowledge and ton of experience that I got out of that, just being in that community, and just really sucking it all in. I really enjoyed being in that world. And with the economy and all that, like it kind of tore there's some relationships down, some companies down with the way things were working out. So I ended up leaving the company and created my own company. At first I called it DeFi, like decentralized finance, but I called it Decolonized Finance. The reason I did that is because I was trying to help out the First Nations communities with our own currency. And obviously it did not work because of, did not work. It's still in process right now. The only thing that just made it harder to do is the whole FTX debacle and the Terra Luna, Do Kwon, all that kind of stuff, right? So that did not help what I'm trying to do at all, right? So it painted a big bad picture in the whole community. But I kept on going, and I realized it's not just more than, it's a lot more than finance, right? So as soon as blockchain, I understood it a lot more. It's part of a bigger ecosystem. Yeah, opened up a ton of doors, what I was trying to do, and solve a lot of social issues in Indigenous communities. And so I just renamed it, called Decolonized Capital. And now I'm filling up a ton of sectors, like the healthcare sector, social services, digital ID, finances, and now I'm into artificial intelligence, and to be able to utilize these technology as a community-based technology to be able to help out a community instead of just trying to monetize off people's data immediately, right? So that's what makes me different than a lot of other blockchain companies. And what I'm doing with the technology is I'm solving a lot of issues that I went through personally, right? So in a way, I look at myself as the formula, and they're able to utilize my life experience as a tool and a navigation set to be how do I do this, and what can the use case be for this technology? So
very cool.
It's pretty cool stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, because if you've had those real experiences, what that's going to be like. Just like anyone else that's gone through a system for like good or bad reasons, that's either benefited or hindered them in their life experiences. You're able to draw from those, and then, well, number one, speak to folks in a way that is relatable in that space, and then to create a product that's superior to solving their problem. I think that's great. You're doing that in the private side of things, and trying to bring that to people. So it's a closed network. I know that I participated on, like, it's still on, I believe, I don't know if I have this right, but like on the beta side of things. But ultimately, this is the system's ready to go, and you basically have created like a closed network. I would compare it to, like, let's call it like Facebook, or Instagram, whatever you want to say, but it's a closed network for communities to utilize resources from. And so it's a little bit more focused on that sense. There's no ads, there's no leakage of information that way.
It's very cool stuff. So I've created private social networks, and it's same function like a lot of, so I've completed the front end prototype, and it's being used on a daily basis, which is really cool. And I created two kind of versions of it. And the first version of this on the social media platform, this private social network, is that it's kind of like Facebook functionalities, our own look and feel. What makes us different than other platforms is that we don't extract your data to monetize or exploit it. So the user is not the product, they're the key. And they're able to put their own resources on there. Just a click of a button, they can understand how, lot of learn and earn. So you can actually like watch videos to be able to earn, cryptocurrency, and to be able to understand the value of what's really in front of them. And it's a lot more smoother in a connectivity type of way for the northern communities to be able to understand, like, hey, this is a great tool. Like, one of our kids was taken into foster care system. There's a direct, smoother communication than Facebook, right? So with our system, it's actually like the mothership. There's a lot more, right? So once you understand the web 2 layers of it, there's actually
and I know you just did the quotes, because sometimes when you chat and I'm like, yeah, I know I worked in tech for a little bit in different sectors of it, and I'm like, I have no idea. I'm more front of house marketing side of guy, right? So
right.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, no, sorry, I just had to interject there.
So
yeah, keep going there.
So there's a Web3 portal link on there, and you're able to go on the more of a Web3 playground. So you can actually sign in through your digital wallet, and you're able to have your public feed. But there's also there's between 630 to 640 First Nations in Canada, and so right now we've created portals, like literally portals of entry points to be able to go into your own community. There's 3 layers of that community to be able to get in. So there's first layer is for the public. The second layer would be for the members of that community, and the third layer would be the governance, like chief and council. And this is great, and this is what blockchain is great about, is that a lot of First Nation communities still use check-in mechanisms, but if they can utilize just our token through their digital wallet, they can just directly put set up their digital wallet right into their for their tokens. But not just that, for voting, for polls, for surveys, for notification, all that fun stuff.
This was neat. I'm going to touch on the thing that I liked the most recently that we were looking at, and China, you pulled up on the screen, or we were looking at there. So ultimately, the whole the voting, I don't know, can you chat more about that to explain to people, because I got excited about it, and I won't do it the same justice unless there's a visual I can point to and be like, all right, that's what we're talking about here. But the voting thing was interesting because I think there is the impression in many cases. I think this is open for everyone to be aware of, or someone's heard this. Sometimes we see it in every kind of either town, municipality. Someone is getting questioned about the decision to move money in a certain way, and it would bring great transparency in cities. Whatever, if we want to say provinces, cities, and smaller communities that are within their ecosystem for decisions being made, because folks within there would basically act like little board of directors, if you will. That's the best word I know how to use here. And they'd be able to vote on that because decisions just couldn't be made, and it would be made transparently, so you would see who voted in what direction as well, right? But maybe
Absolutely.
you can chat more about that to keep people accountable ultimately, because I think that's what people I think like the truth as much as and people get a little confused on what is real in the last couple of years with media. So
I emphasize the transparency, right? What's great about blockchain is that it's great for validating. It's great for identification. So meaning that when you do paper-based promises, paper-based voting, you don't, and it's behind doors. You have to trust them that everything's going to be fair, right? And information can be added, information can be diluted, information can be just corrupted. It's the way it works, right? But with blockchain, any type of asset, data, information that you put on a chain, it cannot be altered in any way at all. It cannot be added information. You cannot take off the information. Once it's there for the rest of humanity, right? And that's what's great about voting, right? It can't be altered or removed, completely eliminating corruption and greed, right? Holding other people accountable. So that's really good for voting. And with your digital wallets, it's cool because you would just get a notification through your digital wallet, and you can put any type of question or any type of survey or anything, and you can just press your vote or whatever the case may be, and you use your private key signature backed by blockchain technology, because it's verifying who you are, and it's verifying that you're a real person instantaneously. But your public key, which is that it's on a blockchain too, so it's all real information on real-time data. What's cool about blockchain too is that with these private social networks is that we can now hold our higher decision makers accountable, like the chief and council, right? Not all
Right.
chief and councils are like this, but there's obviously a lot of greed and corruption in our own communities, right? And you always hear sometimes, like, chief and councils are always going to luxury trips, buying luxury goods, and not putting that money back into the community. With this technology that I've created in the ecosystem, is that we can hold them accountable by seeing where the money's coming from, who's buying or who's selling, and what it's being used for. And it's all transparent information. And not just that, but be able to have the community more involved in these type of transactions, which I call validators, right? These community validators. So we have trusted people onto the systems, and we can actually incentivize them for doing positive, healthier lifestyle choices, right? Keeping them honest, right? And we like to incentivize and keep them honest that way. So if there's a chief and council is trying to go to Las Vegas or faulty spending, they can, with the systems that I've created, they don't have to do that anymore, because through digital identity and digital wallets, they can get a verification and say, hey, like, these funds are trying to be transferred to, a trip to Las Vegas. The community has the power to be able to stop that transaction. And if it's putting more back into the ecosystem, like infrastructure, our roads, food, mental health, addiction centers, school, can be anything. They can actually approve those transactions, right? So it just shows that the money is actually being put back into the community.
Very cool. Yeah, I mean, it depends what the Vegas thing is for. In theory, I mean, like, if it is for like a potential networking thing there, because there are lots of trade shows there. But I feel like that, you're pointing out the aspect of, that 1 out of 100. Hopefully,
and it's not just high level use cases too. This can be like everyday use cases for personal lives, right? For personal convenience, right? So it's all there for everybody, and it's not meant to put more control on anything, just hold people accountable. It's supposed to be a trustless system, meaning that that you don't have to feel that you're being taken advantage of, right?
Yeah. Well, I think that is key, because there is a lot of stuff out there. Personally, victim of booking a flight that was fraudulent not that long ago. I guess it was in the fall, right? But that was it was just like hire on Google Ads, and all of a sudden, Steve-O's getting taken for a ride on East Guy. So we joked that it looked as if it happened to be a company that was based out of like Poland or whatever. But like, you don't know, like, just because it's high on Google, and if it's a sponsored ad, you can't. I mean, buyer beware here. Don't book on East Guy if they're still being like kind of fraudulent. But that was like a thing there. You can't just always trust the top of Google on right now for what that looks like. But
that reminds me of another story. When I live in Calgary now. I moved out to Calgary and started incorporating the company here, doing beautiful. But when I was in Winnipeg, and I took the bus to here for a blockchain summit, and I guess I was like, I didn't pack any food with me or anything like that. I was just like, whatever, I'll just buy food on my way there, right? And I guess like they canceled my card because I was traveling all over across the country just buying food, right? So they canceled it, and I was like, hey, you guys canceled my card, and they said, oh, we see that you're making some unusual transactions. Like, yeah, I'm just going to I'm going to Calgary for a blockchain summit. Are you able to unlock my card? And they're like, oh no, we can't do that. Sorry, sir. And I was like, damn, I didn't get an Airbnb yet. I got no food. I got nothing, right? So I'm like, I need you guys to able to unlock my card, because I don't have all my stuff ready. I don't got a hotel ready. I don't got an Airbnb. I got nowhere else to go at the moment. And so then they're like, well, you need to go to your local branch and be able to verify who you are. I'm like, okay, that's cool, but it's Sunday. Everything's closed, bro. Right? So, So that's what makes a difference between central banking and decentralized banking, right? So I had all my funds locked. I wasn't able to get any of my funds. The bank left me high and dry. Just like, good luck on your own. And it's my money. Like, I work for my own money. What saved me is digital wallets, cryptocurrency, to be able to have my own crypto converted into Canadian dollars, and to be able to utilize my digital wallet for an Airbnb. So that's what's a lot more convenient, because cryptocurrency and digital wallets and DeFi, decentralized finance, you can get many transactions you want with no fees. You are your own bank, and you have all the power to be able to see what you can do and what you want with your money. Central banking, like those mechanisms, you're utilizing their services, you get a limited amount of fees, and the money that you have is not guaranteed you'll be able to get it back, right?
Yeah.
So huge difference.
You bring up a good point. Another experience that I had in the last little bit was just trying to transfer funds within the app that I have with my bank. And then all of a sudden this note pops up, says, you got to call whatever. And I'm like, what's going on here? I was like, hey, said I got to call. They're like, oh yeah, you got to call in now to transfer funds. And I was like, that's weird. I was like, well, what's the point of the app? I was like, that's why I got this thing or whatever. Just moving from savings to a checking account. And my mind just like regular banking kind of stuff. And it was weird to have that experience too, because I was just like, why they change all of a sudden, right? Like why have this? I don't know what was going on the back end there. Probably had an experience with someone being fraudulent and taking advantage of someone being able to do that so easily.
Yeah.
But yeah, it definitely got me thinking too, because I was like, all of a sudden they're like, well, do you have the card on you? And I was like, no, because I don't have I never had a card for that account. And all of a sudden they have to mail me a card. Because out of country, mail me a card. I have to then call back with like the security on the back of it kind of thing. It was it was kind of funny because it was very it was like a step backwards in my mind.
100%.
It was like, hey, I literally have you got like the Face ID plus your password or 2 verification process steps there, and then you can't even transfer funds. It seemed weird, but you know what, everyone they're probably going through a little bit of a lack of employment too in some ways, I'm guessing, just from what I've seen with folks changing jobs. I know for my bank, and I think a few banks, it's like the folks are normally only there for a couple of years and then they're moved on and you don't know who your person is necessarily. So but I think it's a good cause. I think you're in a neat spot for all this stuff. You're gonna catch some folks looking for this opportunity outside of the specific looking for sharing of resources. And so what is coming up next for you, Brown Eagle? What's going on? I know you're attending lots of events and other things locally in Calgary. We paused for a second there. We glitched out.
Oh, there you go. You're good.
Can you hear me now? Okay.
Yeah, I can hear you. You can't hear me?
I can't hear you. Oh. Okay, try me now.
Yeah. Can you hear me? No? Oh, no way. Huh. You can't hear me at all?
All right. Short-term technical issue. Nothing like it being live on the recording.
Yeah. Can you hear me now? No, you can't hear me? No way. Okay.
Here, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to remove you. How about now?
Can you hear me now? No?
I can read your lips, though.
Nice. I'm not too sure.
Try that. I
can't
hear you, buddy.
No way. No. Can you hear me?
Here, shoot me a message in the chat here. Let's do that.
Hold on here. What? Should we restart? Can you?
Oh, I can. All right, folks. Minor tech issue here. Nothing like live streaming and having that happen. We will hopefully edit this out. Awesome. Okay, I can hear something. Yeah, I can hear you now.
Yeah.
Cool.
All right, we'll just continue because you can just edit it, right? Just
I think
right.
so.
Yeah.
Okay. So continue. So what's coming up next on the calendar here for you? What are the next like milestones for you? What's going on like the business side of what you're creating here? What does that look like?
Yeah, for sure. So, like I said earlier, we completed and I built everything myself. I'm all self-taught. I don't have no computer science, no nothing, right? The stuff that I built, like you could definitely people hire for many years, but with a lot of dollars, like at least like almost $1 million, right? And I've done this stuff all just by myself learning. So I completed the front end prototype. It's live running right now. We have private social networks and be able to backed by our own blockchain. We have our own chain, Decolonized Capital chain, and the Decol chain I like to call it because it's short for decolonized. And we have our own currency. Everything's on testnet right now. We're just able to transfer tokens all over the place and allow our users to transfer tokens to be able to get used to those type of mechanisms. And we have the digital wallets all ready to go, and we have our own currency, Decol tokens, backed by a real world asset. So that's what makes us really legit, right? With the security perspective terms, I've studied the book. I understand what the requirements are, the AML structure and the CFT CFT requirements to be able to not become a security. It stays in our ecosystem. You can't buy it to monetize it. It's just tokens that are meant for First Nations and be able to stay in that ecosystem, right? So there's a lot of value to that for having our own financial ecosystem, but not just that, like with our own digital infrastructure and be able to separate ourselves from the Canadian monetary system, the Indian Act, and just the colonial systems in general that we don't ever benefit from really, right? So be able to utilize those systems. But right now we are playing around with AI, and what's cool about AI is that be able to have a AI integrated into our software, so people can type in, how do I become a better person? It just doesn't have your generic answer of like all these steps to become a better person, and reaches all the data points. It actually comes back with the First Nations like wisdom perspective, right? And it has that traditional fine tune, right? And not just that, we can do more with it, right? So we can actually if there's a lot of our homeless brothers and sisters that really live in poverty, and we're able to onboard onto our systems, and we can utilize their information, and they can direct them strictly right to their band and be able to help them out if they need, mental health, if they need medication, if they need financial help, all that kind of stuff, housing, all that type of stuff, right? So AI is a great tool for use cases for social innovation. So awesome. There's a lot of stuff we're doing with that.
No, that's so great. I guess like on the side of like funds and stuff like that, are you guys doing like a raise right now? What are you guys looking for there for the listener to know about, for I guess like today being in April, end of April 2023 is the date stamp on this. But what's going on today to give the folks an idea where you're at right now?
Absolutely. So I've created a ton of the software on my own, and when I say we are a lean startup, we are definitely a lean startup. So we're pre-seed right now and looking for fundraiser, right? So we're at that point that we need to be really hands-on, all hands on deck to be able to build the back end, right? There's a lot of technical architecture complexities that come with this software. So if we're trying to get the family and friends around at the moment and be able to get those funds collected and be able to get the right partnerships that sees our vision, but also believes in what we're doing, and to be able to create our full back-end blockchain, the smart contracts, peer-to-peer network systems. We need encryption, cryptography, all that type of stuff, right? So looking for definitely the friends and family round type of funding, and to be able to put this more into like all over the communities all over Canada, but not just that, in America. And then hopefully we reach down. We have talks to people in Chile right now, that people that want to get involved with this, right? Because Indigenous people are global, right? It's not just here in North America. It's in Australia, it's in Africa, It's in everywhere. It's global. So definitely on that friends and family round, and definitely looking for the proper funding to be able to get this up and running.
Great.
Yeah.
Awesome. And how about what's the tour? You got any travel coming up? I know you're based out of Calgary now. You were in Winnipeg. We had just mentioned before, like some events that were coming up, like in the prairies. So you're
Absolutely
probably doing that, but like chat about that. And is there anything else further in the summer where folks will be able to find you, like the Stampede? Chat on those things.
Stampede. That's gonna be a pretty cool experience. Never been to Stampede before, but with networking events, and I sit on the Canadian Blockchain Consortium Committee. I actually got nominated for the blockchain rewards for the inclusive reward. So I got to go to a black tie gala next week and see if I can win myself a reward here. I'm definitely out of my element, but it's definitely a world that I'm very interested to be. I'm very grateful to be recognized, just to be at the table, right? So
absolutely,
I really like that. So we got the Blockchain Gala Awards, but also the Symposium Gala that's happening too, like right after that. Got to go to United Prairies. That's another networking event that's going to be up and coming. And there's another Web3 conference. I'm not too sure, but I'm definitely busy with a lot of networking and building those relationships.
Awesome. What a fun stage to be at. And you made a big move, like physically moving, number one. And it seems like you're in a good ecosystem out there for folks that are around you. I think there's lots of great spots you could be in. But it seems like things are going well. We're excited that you took time to be on here.
Absolutely.
I think anything else? Where do people find you? Let's talk maybe like social media. I know you're big on that, and website, or how do folks stay in touch with you?
Definitely. If you want to go on the social media platform, you can go to decolonized.info, sign yourself up, and you guys can take a look, kind of feel the look and feel about that. And decolonizedcapital.com. Check out the website, the company website. If you guys want to get a hold of me, I am on LinkedIn, Brown Eagle. You check me out on there. You can go on the company TikTok site. I do a lot of information and education on what I'm doing and how I am rolling this out. And that's on Decolonized Capital TikTok, or you can just go to Deadly and Decolonized, the username. So it's awesome. Good videos. I get a lot of feedback and a lot of views on it, right? So it's something that keeps me in tune with the audience and what their use cases are, but also just the feedback, because it's always good data. Absolutely.
And you get that instant response. I think that's awesome. What I heard there too, ultimately, if they're not remembering the whole name, if they want to go back in like 15 seconds while listening to the podcast here, basically, if they're looking up Decolonized and Capital in the same thing there, it will probably cue them to find you in an effective way, or Brown Eagle on LinkedIn. So I think that's awesome. Well, I think that's a wrap for us today here. Thank you so much for joining us all the way from out west here, Brown Eagle out of Calgary. He's the CEO of Decolonized Capital. Myself, Stephen Maxted, running a podcast here talking about business and life. One final question for us. I didn't tell you this one. It's a bit of a zinger. Favorite pizza?
Ooh, that's a good one. Got me hungry.
Light. Finish off absolutely. On that note. Yeah.
I really enjoy Boston pizza. I like their spicy pierogies, and when I was in foster care, I grew up in a Ukrainian home, and the halupshi and shmutfut and sour cream with pierogies and kubista. It's the best.
Oh,
yeah,
that's awesome. Okay, so we got BP pierogi pizza. And
all right,
throwback references there. Thank you so much, Brown Eagle. Thank you for joining us today.
Absolutely. Appreciate that. Thank you. Thanks for having me.